Welcome to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio, radio for the ready-minded, with your hosts, Scott, Shane, and Paris. We are in our virtual studio today, excited to talk with you and share with you some of the thoughts and feelings we have about preparedness this last week. We are, again, we focus on God, family, and country. Remember, please go to our website, preppertalkradio.com, fill out the information that's there, and get on our mailing list as we start to have more communication that way that you don't want to miss. And we're excited to be able to talk with you and get together with you. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the stock market's doing crazy stuff. The dollar's value is going all over the place. And so with that in mind, it's important to make sure that you have your assets properly protected. One of the greatest, historically, one of the greatest ways to hedge against inflation is with precious metals, specifically gold and silver. Highly recommend that you take an opportunity to have a free consultation with ITM Trading. Call 1-866-257-0481 for a free consultation, and they will go through why it's important for you to have gold and silver in your portfolio. They'll answer any questions you have, and they will help you. They are professionals. Lynette over there is one of the best. She has got a great amount of knowledge on the economy and what's really going on. So even follow them on YouTube as well, so that you can get some more information. Maybe that'll give you some confidence to make the call. As well, we want to make sure that everybody who is speaking of the dollar and spending your dollars properly, if you are sick and tired of spending your dollars with woke companies, if you are sick and tired of the woke agenda and you want to have your dollars go to buy and support American-owned, American-made, American manufactured, American distributed, then I highly recommend that you go to patriotswitch.com/prepper talk. That's patriotswitch.com/prepper talk, and fill out the information there. And one of us will give you a call and check your emails. By the way, I've talked to a few folks who have filled out that form, and it's been fun. I hope that those that have I've reached out to and talked to have felt like that was a cool opportunity, and I've just been impressed. I thank you guys, everybody who listens to our show and who is a part of what we're doing here. Some days I wake up and pinch myself on this show and think, man, there's actually people that are willing to listen to us. Our downloads are up right now. We keep track of our downloads on our podcast every 30-day cycle. And right now we're up 20% in our downloads. We got, just in the last 30 days, we've had 12.5 thousand downloads just in the last 30 days. So appreciate everybody who's downloading, listening, and sharing the message of preparedness and staying self-reliant. That's so important.
Yeah, and today, I also wanted to direct you guys over to YouTube as well. We're about to break 2,000 subscribers there. So just, if you haven't already, we would appreciate subscribers, some likes, some comments over there.
Absolutely. Today we're going to talk about how to be prepared in our current with our current situation. There's as an example, we're going to get into it in the show, so make sure you stay to the end. But for example, there's a lot of retailers that are closing stores in certain areas of the country because of the violence and the crime and the theft. We have absolutely just incredibly, like, it's an invasion at the border. What should we do to prepare for the things that are coming and the things that are happening in our country right now in America? There's a lot of you that listen from other countries, and I'm sure that you're having a lot of refugees from coming into your country as well. And we got to know what to do to be prepared and be ready for some of these things. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And something that Shane shared with Scott and I this week, the perestroika. We might, if we have time, we might hit on that. I highly recommend you look it up and you do some research on that of your own.
Yeah, we'll try and put a link down below. Trying to remember in one of the comments to put.
The video that was so good. It was an hour and a half, just over an hour and a half video that I watched and that Shane shared with us, and that was super eye-opening about the plans that they actually have created since the 60s to destroy America and bring down the West. And it's literally everything we're seeing right now is exactly what's in that doctrine.
It really is. And the title of this segment, call it our show, is We're at War, and I think that's absolutely true. I think we want to deny anything that's negative around us. I mean, that's common, or that's human nature, is to look for the positive in things. But I think we really need to realize that the things we're experiencing, like in this perestroika deception. It's been an agenda of world powers, of Russia, China, and like I said, we can get into this more later. But it's been their agenda for decades, longer than I've been alive, and those really are a type of warfare. You might even consider it fifth generation warfare. It's just something new. It's something different. In the way of war, right? In the way of war, we're typically used to, fourth gen, which is really insurgency. What we've been seeing in the last several wars, I think really from Vietnam forward, is kind of an insurgency, counterinsurgency type of war. And this is a war on the people. It's a war on, with technology. It is war with sanctions. I mean, there's so many different aspects of war that I think we just really need to realize that we are at war, that we are under attack. Okay, we may not be at war. I mean, it's not a hot war, right? It's not, or as they say, kinetic, right? But we're under attack. And I think if you look at all the little aspects and put them all together, kind of like this video that Paris referred to, it really starts to come together and say, hey, we're in trouble. We need to put up our guards. We need to learn how to defend from this attack.
What's interesting is like, as we talk about this today, you can get really afraid of what's happening, or you can get really motivated about what's happening. And I've been listening to a couple of really cool podcasts lately, and just watching some YouTube channels, kind of trying to understand the whole apocalypse better. And what's interesting is what do you think the word apocalypse means?
I do know that. I just can't remember the moment.
I think it means revealing, or like bringing about, like bring awareness, or like uncovering, or something like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I've always thought like more of apocalypse means doomsday, right? Until recently, when I'm like, oh yeah, that's not right. Yeah, if you go into the origin of it before, because apocalypse is Latin, but if you look at the translation of where it came from, it's basically apo and kel, and apo is to uncover, and kel is to save, or so it's to uncover or to shed light on, right? To make visible what was hidden, and to save. And so it's like the apocalypse is really designed to, or as it's taught, it's to help create the Great Awakening, help us understand, uncover all the lies that we've been fed our entire life, and to allow us the opportunity to change our ways, to repent, and to improve, and to meet Christ and meet God, right? So the apocalypse is a good thing. What happens in and around it, not necessarily so good, right?
Right.
The woke agenda that's infiltrating all the stores. It's infiltrating every facet of life. You can't stream shows anymore without horrible content in the commercials. Like, I can't even stream regular cable with my kids. Like, I'm like, oh, look away. Hey, well, look at this. Especially during the month of Halloween, it's like so much gore.
And if you find a decent show, the commercials are repulsive. Right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The commercials are worse than the shows in most cases, because you're looking for good stuff, right? We're looking for good content for our families, and everything's coming to light right now. So has the apocalypse started? 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does that give you reason to fear? 100% no.
Well, like Paris led out with, one of the things we're really seeing a step up in is theft. Call it theft. Call it, there's looting is what it is. Looting.
Yeah.
And the companies are calling it like Target. They're calling it, they're not calling it loss. They're minimizing what's happening in the words that they use. What does it refer to in that, Paris? They're calling it, it's very, very deceiving words that they're using, in that they're not being forthright, saying we're getting
loss prevention. Is that
it's not just loss prevention? No, it's even more softer than that. The words
here's one article I found. This is kind of one that I found that's on CNN. Target says it will close 9 stores in major cities across 4 states because of theft and organized crime.
Well, see, that's CNN's title, but
There's other titles on
target.
other places, I'm sure. But what's interesting is that the states, I see if I can find it. The states that are going to be taken out are
It's California, Oregon,
New York.
New York,
Seattle,
and
Portland, San Francisco.
was it
and
Washington?
I can't.
New York. In New York.
New York.
Yeah.
So, but what's interesting is like they're taking them out of the largest populous cities, and it's in cities that specifically have changed their bail laws, and their how they're going to charge someone if you steal less than $1,000 worth of stuff, it's no longer a felony.
Yep.
And it's not something that they're going to hold you with bail.
They're calling it shrink.
Yeah, they were trying to reduce. They were trying to reduce crime, or at least reduce population in the prisons, only to make crime even worse.
So what's happening though is if you look at the articles, they're talking about the employees of these stores are complaining that these groups are getting more and more violent. And what's interesting is they're not even really getting a slap on the hand. It's free shopping. They get to go and just pick out whatever they want. As long as they're under $1,000, the store doesn't try to stop them. I'm like, shoot, you do that here in Utah?
Yeah.
And you got somebody chasing you out of the parking lot.
Yeah. It was interesting. I watched a video today of two ladies who were stealing some stuff out of a Target, and I don't remember where it was, but the employee, as they were coming out around the registers, the employee grabbed the cart and was trying to hold them, say, hey, you can't, what are you doing? And they literally pulled out pepper spray. They pulled out mace like the ladies did, and they sprayed the employee. He held on to that cart though, like for dear life. And they ended up in the whole video, that they left without the merchandise. But this poor guy got attacked. I mean, that's an assault really. So think about that for a minute. Like if these looters, and there's another video I watched about a bunch of people stealing stuff in Philadelphia. And I knew that one was because all the cops were there and people were running by them, and the cops were just there. I think a lot of times these poor guys, these poor police officers who are doing their best, are just overwhelmed. But they took it to these looters in the video I watched, and they body slammed a couple of them.
Well, and these retailers are firing people for attempting to stop these people leaving the store, right?
That's ridiculous.
You do what's right, and you're punished. You do what's wrong, and you're let go.
Yep.
We truly live in the day where right is wrong and wrong is right.
Black is white, up is down.
It's completely flipped the script. And what's funny is at the same time right now, are you guys aware of the Amazon lawsuit? Federal government's going after Amazon
for a monopoly case or something.
Yeah, there's the whole antitrust. They're saying it's an antitrust thing. Well, what's interesting is Amazon saying that if they come after them, they're going to actually cause the opposite of the problem that they're claiming. And what will happen is all these products, they'll have less choices, and the prices will be higher. Right now, it's the opposite of that. What's funny though is did you know that 30% of all the stuff that you buy on Amazon America is from small businesses in America? 30%.
I didn't realize it was that high.
That's the part that I'm like, I want to shout about and be like, dude, that's awesome. Those guys are doing a great thing. The rest of it is larger corporations that may be US, may not be US. Right? But most of that crap's coming from China anyways.
Yeah,
but the smaller companies are the ones that want to support because they're the US based companies. And it's like the Walmart, they've eliminated all the small businesses that they used to buy stuff from. Yeah, Amazon's like, hey, come over here. Right? Yeah. And so it's like, I would rather buy online. Guys, one of my favorite places to shop is through the Patriot Switch options, because everything is made here in the US, 100% US company, 100% US products, 100% US, employees, well, and Canada, right? But here's the other cool thing is their packaging is all from the US, right? The containers are all from the US. All the products, it's US made. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to support that, right? First aid, I look for my first aid companies that are all based out of the US. Food storage, I look for all my food storage companies that are based out of the US, because we are about to hit another, in my opinion, we're about to hit another closure, if you will, of ports. The supply chain is going to get disrupted again.
Well, you've a few things that have kind of set off this topic for me is in relation to that, Scott, is that What did Russia just barely do? They basically are not exporting any fuel, any diesel in particular. I don't know about gasoline, but that's like 1 million barrels a day. I mean, that is going to have an impact. And everything is just starting to work against it. I mean, it has been working against us for a long time, but it really seems to be culminating now faster than ever. And another thing, you guys know how much I love Berkey water filters. Whenever I can say Berkey, I like to gush.
They're getting hit right now.
Did you hear what happened? The FDA basically said the contents of the Berkey filters, which is, I think silver in particular, as part of their purification, their filtration, they're calling it a pesticide. And now Berkey is suing the FDA, and you try and go get any filters.
It's crazy.
Fortunately, I stocked up because that's what I do.
They're forcing them to put pesticide on all their labels. And Berkey's filed suit back. What's interesting, though, is did you guys see the report last year about Berkey and how that their claims of filtration were wrong?
I think we did. I think we talked about it.
Well, there's been another report that delegitimizes the company that did that report.
Oh, dang.
Go figure,
so it's
right?
like, who can you trust?
The fact checkers got fact checked. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that like Berkey has, in my opinion, one of the best filters. For Patriots has one that's almost, I don't even know if it's about the same from what I've read, but it's a complete Berkey knockoff, and the pricing is a little better. So check both those out. But
different kind
going
of
back
filter.
to like where our world is, it's like, yeah, Berkey's under attack. All the fast food places did this whole. You guys see that burger thing this last week? Like,
oh yeah, a 1 cent
burgers at, like,
hamburger
Wendy's,
for
10
Wendy's,
cents at,
and
like, McDonald's.
Yeah, 50 cents at McDonald's. I would never forget that.
No, I don't care if they're free. I ain't going there.
Right? Like, just no.
That's
why I'm like, Riverbend Ranch. I'm gonna put my meat from Riverbend Ranch. They own everything from the beginning, from the hay and the grass, like to the meat processing, like everything in between. Like, we've got to just get better and better about what we're watching, what we're aware of, so that this apocalypse that we're living through doesn't take us out.
Well, you just think about what's happening right now. We're way ahead of the storm that's about to hit. When you got, I don't know how many thousands, they're saying like 5 to 10,000 people crossing the border every day. Or maybe it's 2 to 5,000.
I've heard at least 6,000.
Yeah, 5 or 6,000 people crossing the border every day, and that's not going to stop. It's not slowing down. And we got a whole bunch of those people going into all these different cities. They don't know where to go. We got New York. Actually, there was a bunch of citizens of New York recently. I saw a video where they were all arrested for protesting a bus that was dropping off illegal immigrants in New York. And they all were out there protesting, and they were basically blocking the bus. And the police had to come, and a lot of those citizens were willing to be arrested. And that's where we are right now. I think that's where we need to fight back. And, not just, we need to be aware of what's going on in our cities, in our local areas. And we need to be saying no to some of the stuff that's happening, because it's going to really cause a huge ripple effect. The dominoes are going to start to fall, and we're going to see a huge problem. Where do these people get food? Where do they get stuff? We have that knucklehead in Washington, D.C. saying, we need to eat. Everybody just go get the food. Well, that's where people are looting. They're like, well, we need to eat. We just go loot whatever we want and get whatever we want, eat whatever we want. And so we need to be absolutely prepared to be able to go out and stand up. And it doesn't take a lot of people, but we all need to stand up at some point. And not to mention the fact that, some of these guys who are in these areas, they're, if you're walking down the street and they see you and you got nice stuff, high likelihood that they're going to try to hit you and take you out and take you down. And so all the more reason, in my opinion, to 1, conceal carry, 2, get some training, even if your training is just work out, like get some strength, get the ability to run faster than the guy who's chasing you. Or if you want to even take it to another level, learn some martial arts, learn how to throat punch somebody or something, or do a little Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something where you can actually defend yourself and get away, because the violence in neighborhoods is increasing in some cities, in some areas.
Yeah.
And so we're going to need to really be prepared and be ready for that kind of an invasion, which is actually really what's what we're seeing right now in real
That's
life.
what I wanted to say, Paris. This is actually an invasion, and you see it not just in the U.S.; it's all over the world into the the first world countries. France is I think they're seeing a couple 100,000 invaders every month, or it's even more than that. Germany as well. All these first world countries it is an invasion, and it's on purpose.
What's interesting is at the border, how many of the people that they've stopped have families? Most of them are single men.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are they coming to America for? And when
Well,
you
you
ask them where they're going, they're only going to LA or New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So
Chicago,
it goes back to
there's
that
a lot of
article we
them.
talked about the organized crime. Like they are infiltrating intentionally to the places that won't prosecute.
Yeah,
and they're
Or that
just
have
society.
declared themselves as what are those, sanctuary states?
Yeah, sanctuary cities. Yeah.
And that's part of the problem. I mean, one of the big things to think about is these retailers, as they start to go close their doors and everything goes online. Well, now we're really reliant on the distribution system. Now we're really reliant on the highways and the truckings and all that stuff. So if you don't have a local store, like one of the big things, everybody thinks of Target traditionally as a department store, and they are, and rightly so. So, but they just didn't. They just, I mean, in the last couple of years, they added groceries. That's where I did a lot of my shopping. And when I lived in California, that was my go-to for groceries and food. And until they got woke and I moved to Utah, and so I don't shop at Target anymore. In fact, I sold all my stocks and everything too. I don't have anything to do with them. Anyways, the point is that if these stores are closing, where are you going to get your food?
Well, that's another thing on the battlefront is our food as well. Not just food supply, but the quality of the food, the stuff they're putting in our food. And I mean, that's just, there's so many fronts that we're being attacked on. I mean, another thing that we hear a lot about is the next pandemic that's coming around, right? We hear what we're hearing, all different kinds of new ones that I haven't heard of before. Including, I mean, I've even heard Ebola in the past couple of weeks as well. So all this stuff, they're just trying, a lot of it is just scare tactics, is trying to instill fear, but it's also about taking power. So, I mean, we're being attacked on all these fronts, including guns more recently too.
Speaking of that, did you see that one? It was a recording. Probably somebody didn't realize they were being recorded, and they were talking about the variants and different things that are going on. And then somebody at the end says, when do we need to deploy the next variant? Like, I was like, wait, what? I think it was I think Dan Bongino put it out, or somebody like that put it out on their show. I can't remember. I should probably bring receipts when I say stuff like that. But that was like, wait, what? What did you just say? Maybe it was the Highwire. It could have been Del Bigtree and the Highwire that put something out, like the Jackson Report. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Highwire, but it's the guy, that guy does his research, and he brings receipts with all of the stuff he does. I listen to them too on a regular, but it's like, wow, what are they? I mean, when you know what they're planning, and that goes back to what we were talking about, the perestroika deception, is that the perestroika deception was founded by the communists and by that whole ideology of communism.
Marx and Lenin.
Yeah, Marx and Lenin, some of that, could have been passed down to them from some of the higher up globalists at the time. Sure, absolutely. We know there's always somebody higher in the deeper, darker shadows that's running things. But the reality is that these the major countries of the world right now that espouse communism are China and Russia. Well, Scott, I don't know if you've seen, but you've mentioned all the people coming in at the border are these men. You know what nationality most of them are? Chinese and Russian men. And so what if the invasion, we've heard about, biblically, it talks about China and Russia being, at least those kind of areas, being the major infiltrators of the modern day America. What if the invasion isn't the first part of it anyways, isn't a militant invasion? It's a migrant invasion. And then they have all their people ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, we already got the China buying up farms. We got China doing they have police stations in China, in America.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you look at movies, and we always look back to movies because they announce their intentions through movies and such. And so think of the movie Salt, right? That's exactly what that was. It was a Russian plan. I forget what it's called, Day Zero or whatever. that they would launch, and everybody's already in place, right? It's already been planned, and then the signal's given, and their plans are in motion, right? So I would not doubt that is absolutely true. They've shown us that already.
Yeah, it's super. I mean, the reality of an invasion right now, at the bare minimum, you have to think at some point that by now that they're doing some of this on purpose. Like, how you can't be that absolutely blind to what's happening in Washington, president and staff, that you're not stopping it. I mean, they say they're stopping it. They say the border's closed. They say all these things are happening, but the reality is that it's not. We got this knucklehead. Scott, you alluded to the guns, and freaking Newsom literally just passed a law in California that says there's a gun tax, 11% gun tax. And he says, I think this should be a sin tax. I'm like, really?
So and yet his guard,
I'm sorry, Californians, but you
have California purchased firearms.
Yeah.
And semi-auto handguns. Well, I don't know about semi-auto handguns, but that's the thing, is like they've got whatever they want, but we can't have what we need. And that's the hypocrisy of our policy leaders of today, right? There's the whole, okay, so Russia is coming in, right? China's coming in. China has been here for years. They've been buying up land. The Middle Eastern countries are starting to buy up land. I just saw a video last week of a guy in Texas who his well has dried up because next to his well, there's, I think, 5,000 acres or 50,000 acres of land that belongs to, I can't remember which group,
Saudi Arabia, I think,
country in the Middle East. And they are pulling all the water out of the ground because where they're from, they can't grow that crop because it uses too much water. So they grow it here and then export it back to their country.
Yeah, I think it's an alfalfa.
And farmers like
alfalfa, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's alfalfa. But he's like, I can't continue my business. My life is over because I have no recourse against this.
Yeah, I was shocked to learn that actually how much alfalfa is exported. I never would have thought that. But even from Utah, some of those crops go out and are exported, which is crazy to think.
It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, so my thoughts on this, I had some additional thoughts. Is okay. We are always preparing for an attack. How do we prepare to defend ourselves from these kinds of attacks, from a 5th generation warfare? It's I think we know that that attack on Pearl Harbor was really instigated by the U.S. By doing an embargo against oil. They, Japan had to attack, and so I kind of consider that kind of 5th generation warfare. Where they cut off resources and force an attack, or call it a false flag or whatever you might. But how do we defend ourselves from these types of attacks? I think the first thing is to have your eyes open, be aware. Right, that's the very first thing, is not to stick your head in the ground, but to get out there and look and try and find the truth. I mean, truth really is the answer to, the overall answer to all of these deceptions and lies.
Yeah, let me do a quick advertisement with one of our sponsors, Survival Frog. We talked about, we had Survival Frog on a couple weeks ago, several episodes ago, and he talked about the canned meat that they have. If your grocery stores like Target and other places are closing because of violence and theft, you're going to want to have some good protein as well as other foods. And Survival Frog has got some of the best protein, source of protein that I've ever seen and that we've ever seen. In fact, I'm going to be doing a review video on some of the cans of protein they have. They have canned chicken, they have canned meat and canned beef. And it's absolutely fantastic. So if you'll click the link in the description below, go to survivalfrog.com. And I think if you type the code Prepper Talk, you get 10% off. And then you can actually get some good meat. Now, the meat there, it's prepared specifically for a higher shelf life. And I'm excited to do some show some videos. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel to learn more about Survival Frog and the canned meat that they are offering. They have a bunch of other really good products as well. However, I think the protein is kind of a big need for people in their survival, in their food storage, and they have some of the best resources for that. Speaking of as well, having good produce, if your local stores, you can't order, vegetables over the internet to have them shipped to your house. At least maybe you
Not
can,
yet,
who
anyway.
knows? But you're going to need to have some good seeds, and you're going to need to have a garden, learn how to garden. And we have a great resource with Survival Garden Seeds. They came on our show, and we several podcasts ago as well. They have a fantastic set of seeds. They have winter gardens, they have summer gardens, they have spring gardens, they have herb gardens, they have medicinal gardens. So any kind of sets of seeds that you want to have, they actually have, speaking of protein, they have a great starter kit for you to be able to make microgreens, which is a fantastic source of protein as well. So go to survivalfrog.com, Prepper Talk Radio, go to Survival Garden Seeds, and you'll be able to see. It's all in the it's all in the links in the description below as well. So please get yourself prepared, get the things that you need, and support the show.
Perfect.
So back to the show. Speaking of that,
so going back, I started talking about there's the invasion from China, there's the invasion from Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are already going on. They've been going on politically for 50 plus years, probably closer to 80 plus years. But there's also the invasion into our religion, right? America used to be a Christian nation. Now you can't tell what it is. It seems very atheist. But also, if you look at our educational system, that's infiltrated with the woke agenda. Our stores are infiltrated with the woke agenda. Our banking is decaying, right? There's no front that's not being attacked right now. There's a war on the family. They want us to create less new people, at least naturally, right? They're trying to reduce the number of children that are born in America every year through all these different things that they're putting in the food, all the different things that they're putting in our medicines, right? All the more reason to become more self-reliant.
Yeah.
And not rely on all these other systems. Each of the systems has been infiltrated. The healthcare system, infiltrated. Our political system, infiltrated. Most religions, infiltrated, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else has been infiltrated? We already talked about educational system, right? Our social medias are all infiltrated. Like there's so many false influencer things out there that they're like, Amazon has their own influencer system, but like if you look at like TikTok, you look at Instagram, you look at Facebook, you look at Clapper, you look at all YouTube, they've got certain groups, and we've seen this Twitter, which is now called, I guess, X. Certain groups are promoted because they fit the woke agenda, and other ones are pushed down, right?
Which is crazy. I mean, that literally happened. I mean, as an exact example, I mean, we don't know if it's true or not yet, but the allegations are that Russell Brand had some issues and had some concerns. And we live in I mean, of course, he's in the United Kingdom, so their legal system is a little differently. But in America, you're innocent until proven guilty, not innocent until allegedly guilty or canceled or just, it's like
prove yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that everybody's deplatforming him right now. And
I thought he was a U.S. citizen now.
He might be. And so rumble.com is actually under attack right now from the UK because they wouldn't cancel him. And all these advertisers started dropping their advertising dollars on Rumble because they didn't do that. And so here's the thing that I'm seeing is that if companies are so beholden to the powers that be, that they are willing to cancel their advertising dollars, what does that tell you about some of these places? Like, we really need to get smart about where we're putting our money and what we're doing, where we're buying things, and slowly, as fast as possible, but as surely as possible, we need to be switching our money to places that are supporting America and supporting some of the, at least supporting the values that conservative values that we have. And, that's something that I think is going to be critical in the next several years. As things start to get worse, it's going to just get worse. We're going downhill from here in many cases, at least for the next year and a half, perhaps. Is Trump going to win the 2024 election and then save America? I don't believe that anybody is going to save anything except for Jesus Christ. But there might be a reprieve after we get somebody a little more conservative. Hopefully, somebody who's a real conservative in the White House.
I think that's going to be a false reprieve, though.
But I think you're right. Scott, I think that's exactly right. I think it's going to be another one of these false reprieves for maybe we get a couple years, and then things start going crazy again. But the end of the day, you have to be self-reliant. You have to be able to say, you know what, regardless of what the world does, and you need to be aware of what the world is doing, because they're going to influence your kids, they're going to influence your family, they're going to influence you, and you got to be aware of what's going on. You got to be able to stand strong. You got to be a light in the darkness. You got to be able to stand for truth against the onslaught of darkness that's coming. We do need to stand and hold our ground. We don't just need to hold the line. We need to start pushing the line a little bit. But the reality is that you need to be prepared on more than just food storage. You need to be prepared physically, with your strength, with your exercise, with good conditioning, maybe a little martial arts in there to defend yourself. You need to be prepared with your ammunition. You need to be prepared with your spiritual discernment to be able to figure out if people are lying to you or not. Yep. You need to have a little truth radar, truth lie detector going on, because you got the light of Christ and the spirit of Christ in you to tell you, hey, that guy is not telling you the truth. Or maybe you can say, hey, that guy is telling you the truth. Listen to what that guy says. That's how you know. If someone's telling you the truth, if the Spirit of God tells you that is true, listen to it.
And that's, I think, the important thing. I have a little bit of a conflict within myself on this topic. We think about, okay, we're under attack. We truly are, and we need to defend that attack. But we have also talked a lot about being the gray man and just being able to go to relocate, to hide, stay in the shadows, not draw attention. And that works very well, I think, from drawing an attack on yourself. But it really doesn't do any good to defend an attack, right? Like you're saying, Paris, you got to stand up, we got to speak, we got to do what we can, both physically as well as speaking and acknowledging truth and so forth. So where is that line to where we can attack, yet draw back and not draw the attack of the enemy? That's something I'm still working out in my head, but obviously I'm here speaking up, I'm opening my mouth, probably drawing in
getting attention,
future attention, which I'd rather not have that attention, honestly. Every time I come here, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to go to my cabin in the woods and disappear, right? But that doesn't serve the purpose. That doesn't defend the attack.
We've been taught our whole lives that we cannot go on the attack, but we have to stay on the defensive. But to defend our God, our families, our religion, our peace, right? That's what we have to defend. So going on the defensive, to me, you can actually use offensive tactics to have a really good defense, right? Set yourself up with a couple touchdowns. Let's use football, for example. Get a couple touchdowns of having water stored, food stored, bullets stored, right? Bullets, beans, and Band-Aids. Get some of those started. A lot of people think right off the bat, man, I got to go buy a whole bunch of freeze-dried foods. No, go buy a couple 100 pounds of wheat and rice and beans. That will go a long way, and that will store indefinitely, right? But here's the other thing. Like, you can vote with your dollar. All the special interest groups have been doing it for years. They go down to Congress and they start funneling money like, hey, push a law through on this, push a law through on that. Well, then we can go and say, hey, I'm not putting any of my dollars towards those companies. And just start pulling back. Don't play their game. And the truth about bullies, it's if you don't give them the satisfaction of their victories, and you don't let them see that, like, if you can just draw back and be like, hey, my emotions don't matter anymore right now. Whatever you said doesn't matter to me. It's just let it roll off your back. And if they don't have that, get that rise out of you, they stop bullying you.
Yeah.
Well, if these companies stop getting dollars, they're not going to have dollars to spend in Washington to start pushing fake new laws.
Yep.
And sometimes those bullies need a throat punch too, right? So,
yeah. But if that bully takes a swing on you, you better take him out.
Yeah. I think it's super important too to get involved in your local communities. You're not going to save our country when your state is having a problem. You're not going to save your state if your county is having a problem. You're not going to save your county if your city is having a problem. And so it just boils down to and you're not going to save the city if your family's having a problem. So get right with your family, get right with God, get right with your family, and then look around your city. What can you do to help the city? I was listening to Dan Bongino, and he lives in Florida. And Florida, he says that he thinks, you might say Florida is a red state, true and true. and through and true, or whatever that quote is. And he says, no, the guys on the city council right now and the county seats are making laws. They're increasing taxes. They're doing all kinds of stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? He says, obviously Dan Bongino's pretty well-known public figure. So he says, I get these guys coming to me. They see me in public and they're like, oh, Dan, we love you, blah, blah, blah. We want to be on your show. It's so great, blah, blah, blah. And then, when they start making laws, it's all this liberal stuff they're putting through. So we all have to be aware and awake. We have to go to school board meetings. Maybe we have to go to city council meetings. Maybe we have to go to our county and figure out and get people in those seats that are conservative, that are espousing the proper values. It takes more than just listening to our show. You have to get up and get out and start working. And I need to follow my own advice right now. There's a couple of really good guys that are running for office in my local area here that I'm starting to support, and I'm helping spread the word. So it's important to get involved. And that's probably the best thing we can do as conservatives, as Christians, as preppers, is to group up. And, it just goes back to that. What was that show? The Bug's Life, the crickets, the grasshoppers, the grasshoppers were not as strong. The minute the grasshoppers were scared to death that the ants would gather together and take them out, because that's exactly what would have happened. And it did happen at the end of that movie. And that's exactly what we need to do, is we need to gather together and we need to take these dudes out, because there's no way that they can win if we gather up and we get together. Any last comments or any final thoughts, guys?
No, I'm good.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Prepper Talk Radio for the ready-minded, where we focus on God, family, and country. Hopefully this episode was edifying, and you've got not only some awareness of what's going on, but also some inspiration to go and do. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Have a fantastic week.
See you next week.